Good day, and welcome back to LunchTable. LunchTable is a casual conversation about a lot of community, diversity, and equity issues that we started a couple of years ago after the killing of George Floyd. We are so excited today to be here at the Eastlake Golf Club. One of the things we talk about in Southern Company is our desire and our commitment to make our communities better because we live and work there. One of the partnerships we've had for over 2 decades now has been with the Eastlake community, with the Eastlake Golf Club, and the focus of the activities here around the Tour Championship, around the Drew Charter School, around the Eastlake Villages, and a lot of work that's been done here in this community. I am so glad to have so many of our partners who have been working with us for so many years to join me today in this conversation around the lunch table. And so with that, I'm gonna let them introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about what they do, their role here around Eastlake, and then we'll kind of get into the conversations about what we've been doing and kind of how things are going here. First, let me start with my friend Shannon. Shannon, introduce yourself and talk about your role, your involvement with Eastlake. You grew up around Eastlake, and you've got relationships that run deep here at Eastlake.
I'm Shannon Longino. I am the granddaughter of Eva Davis. I'm one of the original residents of Eastlake. I currently work as a senior vice president in Truist's Affordable Housing Division. And a lot of what I do today spills from me being raised here as a child, understanding the discrepancies and the inequalities and just some of the things that we experience as residents. So it's important, number one, that we do have these discussions, and thank you for that.
So I just got to jump right in. And Dr. Whitfield and Chad, we will get to you, but this is fascinating stuff. So, I mean, I hear about Eva Davis. I mean, the legend of Eva Davis. I mean, we've seen clips. I mean, what was that like and the journey she was on and that desire at that time to say, okay, we're gonna make this place better? I mean, what did you observe and some of the things you can share with us today?
Well, you know, she was a very family-oriented lady, and she, met no strangers. And, Eastlake started out, we were the second family to move into Eastlake in 1971. And quickly, it was beautiful in the beginning, but, it was a 650 unit property, and it quickly dissolved into some things that were to be considered, undesirable. And at the time, we were not looking for a paradise as what you see today. What we were looking for are the basic necessities that any family living in public housing, which they called it then, and now it's affordable housing. But we were looking for the basic necessities of family quality, to be able to have running water, plumbing, safety, street lights, daycare, playgrounds, summer camp, just resources for these families, because there were beautiful people living there. However, people are not in control of the circumstances in which they're dealt. So all of us were there, but we were kind of treated like on an island of outsiders or misfits, so to speak. And she quickly understood that there were some disparities there. She was one that fought for rights for the M2M program, where the kids in a zip code did not have to attend that school in that zip code if the education was subpar. So she realized the education was subpar that we were receiving. She realized that the housing that we were living in was subpar, and just the quality of life needed to be better. So I was bused to Buckhead from K through 12, living in Eastlake, but quickly understanding that the neighborhoods and the zip codes their dynamics changed every day. And going from, one side of town to the other, you quickly saw how the demographics and the economic status of the neighborhoods were changing. And as a kid, you realized that something was wrong. We were not on an even playing field from the beginning.
That's some good stuff that I'd love to have more conversations about. But Chad, let me ask you to introduce yourself. Chad Parker, head golf pro, head professional, head everything here at Eastlake Golf Club. Thanks for being with us today.
Well, just to echo your comments, I appreciate the opportunity to be part of this. I've been part of the Eastlake family almost 26 years now. And so started as an assistant golf professional. Now I'm the president and general manager of the club. And so under my control is the golf club and the Charlie Yates Golf Course and all the things that we do there. We interface with Drew and obviously First Tee and a lot of other great affiliates. And then, every year we host a tour championship. So coming up in a few months, it'll be my 22nd tour championship. And it's done, that event and our partnership with the PGA Tour and Southern Company dates back to the very first one in 1998. And even the relationship with Southern Company dates well past that, back to the very beginning of the club.
So let me ask you, as you were growing up and going to school to become a golf professional, did you have any idea the social implications, the social impact, the cultural opportunities that came along with being a golf professional?
I didn't, and I think that's, it's the reason I've been here as long as I have. And because you will not find a job in golf that you're able to be part of something like this. Yeah. It doesn't exist anywhere, which is sad, but true. And I think that many of us that work here have drunk the Kool-Aid, have been inspired by Eva Davis and Tom Cousins and a lot of other people that have put their blood, sweat, and tears into this work. And it's just become even more apparent how important it is in the last couple of years. And so it's a blessing. I love coming to work every single day to be at a beautiful place like this, but also know that our efforts and our monies and our time is producing, hopefully different outcomes for people. So it's a wonderful thing.
Dr. Warfield, welcome.
Thank you.
Tell me about you. Tell me about your role at Purpose-Built Communities and all the wonderful things you're doing with Purpose-Built Schools and so many other things that we are blessed to partner with you on.
And we're so grateful for that partnership. I want to echo what you all have shared at the beginning and just say thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here and to join you for this lunch conversation. I'm Dr. Warfield. I'm the new kid on the block.
Yeah,
so this is my first year as the Chief Academic Officer of Purpose-Built Schools, Atlanta. And I'm sure you may know about Purpose-Built Schools, but I'll share just a little bit that we are a nonprofit organization and we manage or operate 4 schools in partnership with Atlanta Public Schools that represent communities of students that are underrepresented or underserved, underperforming. And we work with these students and make sure we wrap our arms around them. We provide the holistic approach to educating our students, and it's partnerships like Southern Company and Eastlake Communities that helps us to offer great opportunities for our students.
So, and I don't want people to take for granted what all you just said, because when Purpose-Built Schools were, I can't say given, but were offered like 4 schools to manage. Talk about, I know you're new, but kind of, I visited those schools with Greg Giornelli, and those are some tough places.
Definitely.
Tough places. Some of the things that, I'm sure stories you've heard about what they encountered when they first took over these schools.
It's been quite a journey. And what I appreciate most about, Purpose-Built Schools, when we come in, we have a chance to connect because we share our personal equity journey. Working with Purpose-Built Schools, one of the things that we hang our hats on is the opportunity to provide access. Yeah. And it's access that the students wouldn't normally receive in communities such as that. So they have access to experiences and opportunities that positively impact their academic, I would say, as well as lifetime outcomes. We always talk to them about, especially those of us that are educators, making sure that we recognize that we're legacy builders.
Right.
And so as a legacy builder, we can't just look at the student that's sitting in front of us. We have to see the student and then the student's children and their children's children. And so we want to make sure that we position them to be successful in life and giving them those life skills. So when we say we offer different things, I look at our partnership as us providing the cherry on the top, because I'm from a traditional school environment.
Right.
So when I had the opportunity to serve in this role as in a partnership with Atlanta Public School, I got excited. Now, this is the personal side of me, because I got excited because I said, this is where ministry actually connects with the work. And you have an opportunity to ensure that the words that you speak align with your work. You're giving students enrichment opportunities that they would not have in a traditional environment. Students have the opportunities. We have K through 12 enrichment programs where we offer things like chess is an actual class.
Right.
K through 12 is chess. And we all know that with chess, we're challenging your cognitive ability. We're teaching you strategies, things of that nature, skills that you'll need beyond.
And not letting the zip code define your fate in life.
Oh, I tell them, excellence, greatness, it resides in you. And excellence is not a suggestion, it's this expectation. And that's something that we consistently say in Purpose-Built Schools.
The 4 schools that Purpose-Built Atlanta operates.
We operate Slater Elementary School, Thomasville Elementary School, Price Middle School, and Carver STEAM, which is our high school.
Now, and that part of Atlanta, I mean, you're near the jail, you've got some tough environments there. I mean, what's the challenge and what have you seen in terms of results and benefits and improvements that, once again, not about zip code, not necessarily about the environment, convincing the students that they too can still learn?
There's several layers to that question.
Right.
Because when I hear that question, I think about the training that we do as far as mindset training,
Mm-hmm.
making sure you shift the student's mindset, making sure that they understand that greatness resides on the inside and that zip code does not define their outcome.
Right.
And then so we also do this through, we use project-based learning as a vehicle to do that. And so project-based learning, in the days of, I would say the days of old, we may have called it interdisciplinary learning or thematic learning.
Right.
But it's where we take something that's going on within the community and we connect whatever this problem is in the community to the standards in which the students have to master.
Right.
And they have the opportunity to learn more about it, to engage in it, to provide a response to a research that particular problem, but also they're learning because they're connecting it to the standard. One of the mission of Purpose-Built Schools is to cultivate student skills and agency in pursuit of their academic or their unlimited potential, I'm sorry. And so we talk about cultivating their agency. We want to make sure that they have voice. And we want them to understand how to elevate their voice, how to communicate beyond the walls of the schools. So project-based learning is one of the vehicles that we use to help them to do that.
Fantastic. And so, Chad, talking about zip codes, and you've been in 26 years. Mm-hmm. I mean, what transformation have you seen in this neighborhood, in this community, around the golf club? And we all talk about how the golf club has been kind of the centerpiece, and other things have grown. But I mean, talk about what you've experienced and seen over the 26 years that you've been here.
Well, I remember my first day distinctly, working at 11 to 8 shift and walking in from the parking lot my first day. It was in August, and I heard what I thought were firecrackers, but they were not firecrackers. And I came down and I was getting to know people, and so I'll always remember that. And then as I think back, I remember what Eastlake Meadows looked like. I remember the day that the buildings were torn down. I remember the celebrations, through the fence and the tractor tearing the buildings down, figuratively and otherwise. And I just, it has changed a lot. At times the change has been quick, right. And at times it's been painfully slow. Yeah. I was involved from the very beginning when Drew opened the first elementary school with mentoring, reading. They had a program called Host, which was help one student to succeed. There was a math component and a reading component. And our job was to come in and try to get the third graders, up to their level. And it was heart-wrenching trying to teach multiplication tables to someone that didn't know them. So how do you, and they were so far behind if we didn't have that program. And many of our members and staff participated in that very early on, connecting the mission, to the, I don't know exactly, I love the phrase you used a second ago about I can't remember exactly what it was, but it resonated with me that you're tying your job to outreach. And it's, that's not all.
Words aligning with
Yes,
work.
yes, that, I love that, and I have to remember that. So I remember all the layers. I remember cleaning out the old convenience store across the street when the cousins, or when it was purchased. We went over and cleaned the shelves off to try to, remember that?
Pop store.
Pops, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, from the visions of Tom Cousins and Egbert Perry and Renee Glover and Eva Davis and so many who had this vision, and when you saw the membership of the club, many chose, we don't want to be a part of this journey. We don't want to be a part of this vision, and we're out of here, you know. But the fortitude, the wherewithal to stay with it. And I mean, when did you see it taking hold and really beginning to change?
Well, I just remember I interacted a lot with Tom Cousins during that time, and some with Eva Davis, and I remember drawing parallels to the spirit of determination. Well, and maybe they didn't always agree on how that was going to happen, but they were determined it was going to happen.
Yeah.
And so I would say that spirit infected a lot
So
of
there
people.
was there was never a doubt.
There was never a doubt.
It was going to happen.
Well,
Never a doubt.
piggybacking off of Chad here, you know, going far beyond, you know, concepts of partners coming into the community, Tom was very intentional about his vision, and my grandmother was very intentional about her vision. Now, I was present when the two of them, it was the three of us in the room, but he was very, very intentional about including her in, because people can come and develop land, they can buy land, they can develop land, but very seldom do they keep in consideration the people it will actually impact.
Not just about making money.
Not just about making money. Tom was very intentional that this wasn't just a business transaction. When he approached my grandmother, we all, as residents and families of just East Lake and Atlanta, period, we're used to people coming into a neighborhood with money, waving it around, and thinking that the community just because can be bought out, meaning...
You just made a good point. I'm sorry, and I'm sitting here as you're talking, I'm thinking about trust. You asked me a question earlier where you said, you know, how does everything work with the students, the community, the parents? And one thing that I noticed with coming in, it's an issue of trust. Can I trust you?
But there's reason.
Yes,
there's very
most
reason. And, you know, my grandmother was very into the political arena. There were so many politicians and so many people who came to see us and made promises that they would be this savior or they would be this partner for a community. And people can have, you know, people, if you talk about East Lake, they have different opinions about what it's done for Atlanta and what it's done for affordable housing, what it's done for a community. But I'm a living witness and I'm proof, a product, that when like minds, no matter the background, when like minds have an intentional purpose and love and passion for a cause, all can be worked through.
But Shannon, I mean, this was framed as little Vietnam. I mean,
I lived here, so I mean that wasn't so comfortable all the time to hear,
but you heard that.
All the time.
And then I think at one point this was the highest crime rate zip code.
Right.
Lowest graduation rate zip code.
Right.
I mean, that kind of dichotomy right here. And to have trust, to have hope, to believe that we can do this. I mean, where did that come from? I mean, how did you guys? I mean, how did you believe it? How did you hold on to it? I mean, because these things take time.
Well, you know, it wasn't always just the outsiders that we had to not trust. Sometimes it was the people within the community, because when you talk about change, it scares people.
Yeah.
People are frantic. And if they're used to drugs, prostitution, dropouts, you know, all kind of dysfunctional behaviors, it becomes normal, but they've adjusted and they can deal with that, as opposed to not dealing with the unknown, like what's coming. But at the same time, there were, I wouldn't say tests, but literally there were some things that were put out there where he could have went either way. And she did not trust him. She didn't trust anybody, and she had every right to feel that way. We had a right to feel that way. But there were things that were put in place where you saw that, number one, this man was about what he said he was. Number one, When he came, there were no bodyguards, there was no security, there was no one with him. When he came to see her, he would always be alone. It would be on a weekend. These are the worst times for an outsider to come to this place, as you have heard what it was called, and they did not tolerate outsiders. But when he came and they saw, he would say, you know, hey, I'm going to see Miss Eva Davis. Nobody bothered him because, number one, they knew who she was. They knew what she was about. And if he's a guest of hers, there was respect to say, something must be going on where, you know, and they respected that process. We had to let, and time told, because we planned for East Lake 6 years.
Yeah.
It was not an overnight process. We met for 6 years, and it was going back and forth. Sometimes it was disagreement, sometimes it was fighting, and sometimes it got to a point where, you know, my grandmother was not trusting, and there had not been some words kept where she and her legal team shut down construction for a period of time and got an injunction to stop until they honored their word and the commitment of having residents be partners involved in the whole process. Because again, you cannot build a community if you're not including the community in which you're building. And that's what I think
Is that
people lost
equity?
it.
In today's term, is that equity?
It's inclusion.
It's inclusion.
It's inclusion, and then we're fighting towards the equity. So you got to be included
Moving
first.
to equity.